Hello everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. It's Joanna the Medium. For those of you who don't know who I am, it's Joanna the Medium. I decided to do this video. It's kind of an impromptu video. I did one in December and many of you liked the idea of me just doing videos on various topics, and I feel that if I don't do this video, I feel I am going to burst. So what I wanted to talk about today is my own struggle, which represents the struggle many of you are facing at this particular time. And the reason why I know this is because I talk to you every day. It's what I do. It's what I do for a living. I counsel people through spirit on a regular basis. This is what I do. This is what my job is, even though calling it a job makes it feel really weird because I love what I do. It doesn't even feel like a job. Anyway, point is that there's a need for me to address the idea of resistance. And we are now in a time where a lot of changes are abound. So I'm just going to start channeling, looks like. And I have been sitting on wanting to do this video for quite a few days, and it is very apparent to me that this is the next stage of my work where I will be talking about various subjects simply because I feel Spirit wants to relay those messages through me. But it also means that the way I used to do things is shifting and changing, and that is causing quite a bit of a discomfort inside of me. And the reason why the discomfort is so prominent is because I am resisting doing what I know wants to transpire out of me. And I'm saying this because I know many of you are going through the same thing. You are feeling a certain shift inside of you that may represent itself to you as feeling of stuck. You may be in a job that brings no value to you other than money, and you feel that you need more sense of fulfillment and it's not giving you that. You could be in any number of situations where there is this internal need for change, but the change isn't happening yet on a physical level, as in your physical life, yet you can feel this shift and change inside of you. For those of you who this makes no sense to, this isn't a video for you, though I know with every fiber of my being, if you are listening to this and if you continue to listen to the end, this message will make sense to you at some point in your life. So if it's not now, it will be later. For some of you, you have been experiencing this for a while. It's what I call transitions. But the reason why I wanted really to talk about this, or what I was prompted to talk about, is the idea of transitions as it pertains to resistance. When we feel a level of stuckness, or when we feel things are no longer the way they're used to be, and then we feel this internal conflict, yet at the same time we're not sure what the next step is, or perhaps we are sure, but we are refusing to take the first step necessary to achieve whatever it is that we want. And we begin to feel the level of stagnation, but it is often because we are resisting. So in my particular situation, and I'm being asked to give this as an example because this will benefit many of you who are going through similar things. And for some of you, this could be a general life purpose, you feeling on point. For some of you, it's relationships. For some of you, it is just you being stagnant in most of your life. Even though things are going great, there's nothing wrong, there seems to be something that's missing. When we begin to shift, it first happens on energetic level, which means it first happens on an internal level. It happens within us. When shifts happen within us, eventually these internal shifts will translate themselves into physical manifestations. It is also a time where tremendous strides can be made in terms of planting seeds, although we want to make sure that we are planting the right ones for us. And how do we know what the right ones for us are? Well, that would be you consulting with your intuition and just realizing or acknowledging what nudges you get. So in my situation, I have been feeling shift in my work for quite some time. And for those of you who know me, I've said this many times, my fascination lies in understanding the mind. Not only the human mind and the human condition, but also what is beyond our level of understanding or beyond our level of current perception. For me, I call it spiritual. For some other people, it could be something else. Point is, I have been feeling this shift for quite some time. Now, I'm at the point where I feel internally like something is bubbling inside of me and it wants to come out. Yet I am reluctant to make the necessary steps in order to do it. Now, just because I do this for a living and just because I am able to plug in to the source of all that is, does not absolve me from having my own challenges. For if I didn't need to experience any challenges, I suppose I wouldn't be in a physical body talking to you. Point is that just because I have awareness does not mean that it absolves me from going through an experience of change, and also, in my case, and many of you, resisting change. Sometimes having awareness makes the change more difficult. Now, why would that be, right? Well, the idea of, or the notion of ignorance is bliss, there's a reason that saying exists. It exists for a reason. Sometimes it's easier not to know because then we just do what we've always done and we don't have to take any initiative to try something different. However, the moment we become aware is the moment we are seeing the truth very clearly. But just because we see the truth does not mean we are necessarily going to jump right on board. Chances are we often don't, because it represents change and something new. Now, the human condition is to be very attached to safety and security for various reasons, right? For one, it is the type of experience that we are here to have. So we are bound by certain energetic forces, and some of those forces, I'm being asked to say, are conditions based on attachment. So we have attachments to our ego. Our ego helps us figure out who we are, because without knowing who we are, well, life would be very difficult. We would be in a constant flux of not knowing. So the point is that just because I am aware doesn't necessarily make it a whole lot easier to actually go through the change. Why? Because the resistance still sets in. So for those of you who are experiencing shifts in your environment, whether it is your external environment as in your circumstances, or your internal environment as in inside of you, notice if you are aware of what it is that you are feeling, and also notice if there is level of resistance or any level of resistance that you are experiencing as a result of you feeling this shift. So the initial idea of me recording this video was to predominantly talk about how to deal with resistance, particularly when it comes in times of change. And because majority of you who hear this will know exactly what I'm talking about, I'm hoping that whatever I am here to give you will benefit you in some way. So change is inevitable. Change happens every day. However, it's usually on a minute level where it doesn't look physically that way to us. So, we don't struggle with it as much. Chances are, those of you who are experiencing dramatic shifts are experiencing in situations that are very meaningful to you, number one, but also situations in your life that represent your safety and stability. So it's how you feel about yourself, what's important to you, what kind of job you do, who you are spending your time with, what you believe your purpose is in life. In other words, you begin to fundamentally shift and change the way you see you, which ultimately shifts the way you see your world, because how you see your world is based on how you see you, your beliefs. So for those of you who have seen me talk, you've heard me say this many times. But anyway, getting back to the point, if you are experiencing resistance, and how would you know this? You would know this. You would feel it. You would notice if you were to close your eyes and say, what is going on? Am I resisting? You would clearly be able to see that there is some level of resistance. Now, resistance isn't a bad thing necessarily. Resistance simply means that there is something that is shifting, and whatever it is that's shifting for you, you're finding it challenging. Now, you could be finding it challenging because it may mean something is coming to an ending, and ending to most human beings is connected to some sort of a loss. That's just how we humans are wired to think. But endings oftentimes are absolutely beautiful new beginnings. So it's all how we see things. However, if you are experiencing shifts and changes, particularly if you are resisting those changes for whatever reason, and I'll discuss that in a moment, you will feel tired, you will feel exhausted, you will feel like there is this internal force trying to push you in a certain direction, and you're doing your best to push it aside and make yourself busy with other things. You may feel you have no energy. I think I already said that. You may start to look for things in order to forget what that nagging feeling is. So this is actually a time, interestingly enough, I'm being shown, where if you have any challenges with addictions, and it could be anything, could be food addiction, could be gambling, shopping, this may be one of those times where, in order for you not to pay attention what you're resisting, you're choosing to fill your time or space or energy with something else that's fulfilling. Except whatever that is might be of less vibration. And what I mean by this, it might temporarily make you forget what's really nagging at you, but the long-term effects of it may be something, may be counterproductive. So, long story short, how do we deal with resistance? Well, the first and foremost important point is to understand that as long as we keep on resisting, we will continue to be stuck in whatever space we are at. Now, one might say, well, I'm shifting and changing, so eventually I'm going to get to my destination. Is that the case? Well, yes and no. It means that eventually you might get there, though the amount of energy you are exerting in order to push that outcome away means you will have to work at it much harder, which means you will be stuck in it longer, and at the end of the day, you won't gain anything other than you will prolong your experience of being stuck. So if that is your choice, then at least know that's what's happening, so that when you keep being stuck in the same place, you don't complain and say, I don't know what's going on, where in reality is, you know exactly what's going on, you're resisting. But at least be okay with being aware of this, because that makes you then someone who is still in charge versus someone who is a victim to their circumstances. So how do you stop resisting? Well, for one, the best way to resist is to acknowledge that change is taking place. And you, like I, being in a human experience, will go through different steps in our lives where eventually we will become somebody different than when we first started. And that happens through change, right? So the acceptance of the fact and an acknowledgement that change is inevitable and therefore change is happening. Change is also very necessary in order for us to grow. So just allowing yourself to go, okay, I acknowledge, I feel this change within me. And even though I may not like how this feels, I am accepting it for what it is. Now, the moment you choose to accept that change is happening, the resistance lessens and the universe is able to push you forward in your experience. Yes, it means change will happen. Perhaps change will happen faster, but perhaps change will happen faster, and before you know it, you're going to realize that the change was for the better and you were afraid that it was not. So the reason why we resist is because more often than not, we cling to things that are safe. So in my example, I have my routine. I have my YouTube channel for about 3 years now, or 2.5 years, or something like that. I have been doing this work for a long time. And as a matter of fact, when I first was told by Spirit to make up a YouTube channel, I literally said, what the F for? And I was basically told that it will be used for me to channel. And to that I said, no frickin' way. Well, then I was gently reminded that I can start in a way that makes it easy for me, cards. But eventually this is what I'm meant to do. So I'm approaching this space in my life where I had plenty of warning. And I have grown thanks to you. I have evolved in the way I give my messages. And now it's come a time where what I have been told a few years ago is actually staring me right in the face. And you'd think if I had warning, I would be okay with it. Well, no, there is still a part of me that goes, what's going to happen? But I also am aware enough to know that if I continue to push this away, and if I continue to pretend it's not happening, even though I can't pretend because I'm aware, if I continue to resist, then all I'm doing is I am prolonging the process of feeling kind of not stuck, but just kind of in between. I am not allowing the energy to come through me, which means there is a built-up happening which is starting to affect me physically. For some of you, you may see this as an anxiety where you're not able to hold in your emotions. For some of you, your fears may be amplified. So imagine this energy trying to come through you, but you're doing your best trying to stop it. It takes tremendous amount of energy to hold things back. So I know that it's like a dam that the moment I open it up, it's going to go poof. So I was at the gym today and it's like, I know I have to do this video. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't know what I'm going to say, but I trust that the moment I open my mouth, it's going to come out just like it does in sessions. It is different for me to do a video that's purely channeled without any cards, because that's my safety, that's my security, that's what I can depend on, that's what I'm sure of. But I also know that I don't need any of these things. I don't use them usually in my private sessions. So it's not like I'm doing anything new, but it's new out in the open. So I think that's how I'm going to leave it. I wanted to share my story with you in terms of the changes we're experiencing, and also to say that you, like me, are probably going through shifts, and you're going through shifts because you're going to a wonderful place, but you may be feeling these feelings of resistance. And we're all supposed to go through certain experiences. So the very fact that you are listening to this and the very fact that you are going through a change is because it's supposed to be part of your experience. You've designed it, so to speak. Which means we have to go through it. There is no way around it. And I had the benefit of seeing energy a few years ago where I actually saw what happens when we resist. We're not relieved from going through the experience. All we're doing is we are prolonging where we're at. And it gets increasingly more difficult to not want to see what's happening. And the moment we acknowledge and accept, it's just the energy goes poof, and it almost like it pushes us forward. So I want you to keep that in mind. Me doing this video, I know, because I feel it, I've known it for a while, is going to allow me to kind of push that energy through me to clear the channel that I am, because I've been holding back. So there will be more of these videos. This is what I am meant to do. I love to teach. That's what I'm passionate about. So I don't want to go on too long, but I hope what I was able to share with you will be helpful to you. I'm human just like everybody else, and like I said, just because I can plug into all that is for various sources and resources, it does not preclude me from experiencing my own human path, so including resistance. So the best way to deal with resistance is accept what's happening and be okay with being in between. Sometimes that's just what the experience is to learn to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Not forever, but for a little while. That too is part of the experience. And let go of the attachments. Most of us who are going through changes have these fictional attachments to things in our future that are based in our fears. That's why we resist, because we feel whatever is happening is somehow detrimental to us or poses some risk. There's risk in everything we do. We walk out the door, we're taking a risk, but we've done it so many times, we trust everything is going to be okay. So for those of you who are experiencing these moments, know that it's part of the deal. It's part of you being alive. It's part of you being a human. And it's also part of taking a chance on something new. So I will leave it at that. I hope this was helpful. And if you enjoyed this, please let me know. Comment below. I would love to read your comments. I always do. And if you do like these little blurbs, and I'm sure there'll be more, it will just, Spirit will just push me to do more of them. So if you enjoy them, let me know, and I will make sure you will get plenty more. And with that said, I want to say thank you so much for your time, and see you soon.